Yeah, what up? Boxing basement in the house. Triple B. Be keeping it real because, I'm the only one who keeps it real. Well, maybe Porky, actually. Maybe Porky. But, I'm Joe Joyce. Big Joe Joyce. The Jugger Bum. Joseph O.B. Joyce. V's Dillian Whyte. The fruity Dillian Whyte who had a kid at 13. So this is happening at Manchester, England. England, as David Greenblatt would say, over 12 rounds. And in many ways it's an interesting fight. I mean, that's a great bill. I kind of almost tempted to go. I don't know. I mean, Manchester was very disappointing to me last time. Because, I don't know, it's grimy and horrible. I'm sorry, I don't mean no disrespect to the Manx, but, the Mancunians, but, it changed since I'd last been there. Like I said before, it was dirty. People say, oh, it's because you went around Piccadilly. Well, obviously I went past the Piccadilly area, and that was grimy, man. But imagine, right? And what's that, like a few hundred yards away from the station, and that's what you see. They allow crackheads and people to openly sell, and, I mean, it's just serving up openly. Thieves as well, but it was more than that. It was just everyone had tattoos. Every single girl was covered in tattoos. People were grumpy. There was a lot of homeless people. God bless them, but they're not being looked after. Alcoholics and drug addicts. So it was strange. I went to loads of places. People say, "Oh, you only went to it." My actual hotel, Ibis or whatever, was full of asylum seekers as well. You had to show your passport to get back in. I don't know, man. ID of some sort. It was weird. I didn't enjoy it. But it's a heavyweight only build thus far. There's only 4 fights that are confirmed. Dillian Whyte, Joe Joyce. David Adelaide vs. Jamie. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. Shikeva. What does he call himself? TSK or something? I don't know. I don't care. Lawrence Coley, Richard Riakpo, great fight. Delicious Ori on his debut. I mean, it's always good to see a heavyweight on his debut. I don't know if they'll add any more fights. I assume so, because 4 fights just don't cut it these days. But, it'd be nice to have 2 more heavyweight fights. I'd be cool with six heavyweight fights on a bill. Come on, man. Now, firstly, I think Adelaide will destroy Jamie TSK. I mean, I think that's a mismatch. Coley Riakpo, good fight, interesting. I mean, I lean towards Coley. I just think Coley and Riakpo are of a similar sort of level, but I don't know. I think Coley's just got the edge, and he's fought actually at heavyweight. This is Riakpo's first heavyweight fight. But Dillian Whyte is Big Joe Joyce. Now, these guys, I can't believe how old these guys are. I mean, I can. The Jugger Bomb is 39, 6'6", 16 wins, 15 by way of KOs. He only has 1 win. He only has 1 distance win, and that was kind of early on in his career. Let me have a look. How early on was his career? Unanimous decision against Bryant Jennings. That wasn't his best showing. But, he's lost 4 of the last 3. And he hasn't looked impressive in any of them. Chisora amazingly dropped him. I mean, I think Joyce's chin was always exaggerated. The old, everybody got a plan till they hit me in the face and nothing happens. Yeah, but Joe Joyce got stopped as an amateur a couple of times. And dropped. Who was it? Sergei Kuzmin? Right? Was it Sergei Kuzmin dropped him? I think in the, a guy called Hamza Begwani. I've never heard of him. Stopped him in a round. Sergei Kuzmin stopped him in a round. Gay J stopped him in a round. Now, I know that's the amateurs, but the WBSS were a bit more pro kind of style fights. And, got put over and hurt. So I think the strength of his chin's always been slightly exaggerated. And, it's never a good tactic to use your chin as a form of defense. I mean, what's his face? LaMotta. LaMotta. I mean, LaMotta has a crazy chin. McCall, crazy chin. George Chuvalo. But, I mean, Joyce is not in their league. And he's been zhanged twice. I still can't get over. I'm going to have to put this interview in my favorite interviews, number 2. Well, after the Gilet Zhang, the second fight, when he got absolutely put to sleep by the Big Bang. He felt the Big Bang that night. And he goes, yeah, I really enjoyed that fight. I'm like, are you nuts? I mean, I love Joe Joyce. He's autistic in a good way. I mean that as a compliment. He's different. I always backed him. I won money on him. But once you get zhanged, you stay zhanged. And, to say you enjoyed the fight, getting laid out. I mean, barely landing a shot and getting absolutely flattened and put to sleep. How can you enjoy that? That's just nuts. Then you had Cash Ali. It didn't look good. And he stopped him right at the end of the fight, Ali. The biter, Cash the biter Ali. And Chisora, roughed him up and dropped him as well in the 9th. So, Joyce's chin being impregnable has always been a bit of a myth. But he has got a good chin, or he did. I mean, Chisora's not a big puncher. People forget that. Yeah, he can punch, but out of 36 wins, he has 23 KOs. I mean, that's a decent puncher, but it's he's no killer puncher, especially at heavyweight. And also, Big Joe Joyce is fighting in Bournemouth. Patrick Corte. Patrick Corte is... He's a puncher, 22 wins, 18 KOs. He's from Germany, but he's 40. He's called Big Patrick. So Big Patrick vs Big Joe. But he's had 4 losses all by KO, and Hughie Fury knocked him out in 2 rounds. That doesn't look great. He's been knocked out by Dempsey McKean in 3 rounds as well. He's been stopped early a few times. He can obviously bang, but, not against quality fighters. So he should come through that, but, you just don't know it, Big Joe. What's Zhang taking out of him, But yeah, he should get through Corte. He'll probably do him in... I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say how far back Joe's gone. I mean, if this was like 3 years ago, I'd imagine Joe would bang him out in 2 rounds. And he may still do. But, he's definitely lost a step. He's 39, the Jugger Bum. The Bummernaut is 39. And yeah, he only started boxing at 21, but from the very beginning of his career as an amateur, he was fighting top-class opponents. Yeah, and the WBSS, which was like, if you're going to talk about semi-pro, if there's any definition of semi-pro, the WBSS is probably it. You get all them people in the pub, and they go, oh, yeah, you like boxing? Yeah, I do. Oh, yeah. Oh, did you box? Yeah, I had a few fights. Like, all right, what club? Well, amateur, pro? Semi-pro. Okay. What, so you were in the WBSS? But, it's a BS most, but the WBSS, and they had no head guards at the time, and I think head guards were still mandatory. I missed that, the WBSS. You could have watched Lomachenko fight at your call and a bunch of other guys. I think Usyk was on the bill as well. Usyk also bashed up Joyce. He moved up to super heavyweight, even though he was a career heavyweight at the time, in the amateurs, that is, because obviously you got super heavyweight in the amateurs. But, so, I don't know, man. What has Joe got left at 39? We've seen videos of him, and he even Dillian Whyte was rinsing him. He's like, come on, Joe, say something. And I've seen interviews of him, and he's just sitting there, and he's like staring into space. It's worrying. Now, people say, "Oh, Joe's always been that stuff." Yeah, he's not a fast talking guy. He's not Eddie Murphy. Do you know what I mean? but having said that, a lot of people, you see that on forums and stuff, and they put up videos have said he's definitely got worse. And he must have made some decent money. Obviously, this fight, I don't know how much he'll earn, but I don't know, what, $1 million? Do you think that much? $500,000? And Joe's not the kind of guy who, Joe Joyce doesn't hang around with Versace shirts, going on holiday to Miami and going to nightclubs like David Gay and pissing all his money up the wall on Yayo. He's happy just to sit at home, at his gaming station with like 3 or 4 different screens playing online games with a stupid smile on his face. But I think it's sweet, I like Big Joe Joyce. I always backed him. And he's robbed of a gold medal by Tony Egg Yoka. I mean, that's a disgrace. And they gave it. I think they gave it to him retrospectively. They said, "Oh, actually, he deserved it. That was a bad decision." Well, he retrospectively gets a gold medal, but in the record books it doesn't show that. Well, you get 2 gold medals now, Yoka and Joyce. It's silly. And Dillian Whyte, well, Dillian the villain. He used to call himself Dillian the villain, which didn't really. I mean, I've always wondered. Some people call him Dillian Whyte, but it's spelled Dillian Whyte. But his original nickname was the villain. So you think Dillian the villain Whyte, that rhymes. Dillian the villain Whyte doesn't rhyme. But now he calls himself the body snatcher, which is weird because, I mean, that's Mike McCallum's nickname, you know? And, you know, he ain't young himself. He's 36. He's had a lot of tough fights, you know. He hasn't had as many fights as you think. He's had 34 pro fights only. 3 losses, all by KO, though. 31 wins, 21 KOs. He's a Chisora-type puncher. He can punch, but he's not, you know, he's not a killer. Do you know what I'm saying? But he's coming off 3 wins, right? In his last 4 fights, if we judge him... No, Joyce has got 3 losses and 1 win in his last 4 fights. And the win was against Cash Ali. Dillian Whyte has got 3 wins and 1 loss against Tyson Fury, who was on fire at the time. You know, he also beat Povetkin, but Povetkin was recovering from COVID. And you just saw by his shape, his body looked wrong. You know, and that was a rematch when Povetkin knocked him sparkle. But having said that, Whyte put him down as well. So, you know, Whyte's one of those guys. If you look at his record, he's beaten some decent guys. Povetkin, albeit a flawed Povetkin. He's scraped past Jermaine Franklin Jr. You know, he's not exceptional, but he's solid. Oscar Rivas he was unbeaten. Derek Chisora, KO'd. He beat Joseph Parker, Lucas Brown, okay. Robert Helenius, okay, we're reaching a bit. Derek Chisora again. Big Dave Allen. He got KO'd by Gay J back in 2015. Man, that's that long ago, man. Almost 10 years ago. It's 9 years ago, really, but, you know, it's 2025 now. I can't believe how fast time has gone, man. You know? And there was an angry build-up to that. I really hope Dillian had won that. I was really backing Dillian, but, you know, that was his first loss as a pro. Obviously, he beat Gay J in the amateurs and put him over. But, you know, so Dillian's always been fringe contender. You know, but he's got to fight for the world title against Fury. He got KO'd. He technically won the interim world heavy, but nobody ever counts the interim. No one says, "Oh yeah, I was interim world champion." Oh, well done. In fact, he's twice world interim champion, and silver heavy, whatever that means. You know, what happens in this fight? I mean, it's all about how shot Joe Joyce is. You know, I think Dillian still has something in him, you know. Something in him. Not at the top level, but he still has something there. And obviously, I think he's failed 3 drug tests, but he got, you know, 2 of them got reversed, didn't they? I think 2 of them got reversed. And he was found not guilty. And that's what happens when you got money. You can be found not guilty after you fail a drug test. So look at Conor Benn, for example. Because UKAD, the British Boxing Board of Control, haven't got the money or won't risk the money, more importantly, because the British Boxing Board of Control got about £1 million in the bank to protect them. Yeah, you can see their accounts. You feel me? It's a private company, by the way, private limited company. You know, so you know, if you got money, you can look at Roy Jones Jr. Man, 6 months he got for failing the drugs test. You know, or Clonello, didn't he get 6 months? I mean, if you got money, failing the drugs test just don't matter. Right? So let's look at the bookies. So they have Dillian Whyte at 1.5, so that's 2-1 on. They have Joe Joyce 2.8, which is about just under 2-1. Okay, I'm okay with those odds because, as I said, Joyce has lost 3 of his last 4 and got KO'd in 2 spectacularly. In one by Zhang, and he even got put over by Chisora. You know, so the form line is with Dillian. Who do I want to win? Well, I mean, I really like Joe Joyce. The problem is, if he wins, then he goes on and carries on fighting and takes more punches to his head. I mean, there must be like, what, I don't know, man, what, 18, 19, 20 brain cells knocking about in his brain? And after this fight, there'll be like 15, maybe 14, Maybe if he stopped now, some of them brain cells might regrow. And, he could go back to having 20, 25 brain cells and plays games online with a idiotic smile on his face. But like I said, I'm not slating him because I'm a Joe Joyce fan, but he's reached his level and his limit. He's provided us with some interesting fights. I mean, it's crazy. He's beaten Dubam. He knocked Dubam out. He killed Joseph Parker, And both these guys are now fighting each other, And one of them's a current heavyweight champion, albeit very dodgy, giving Dubam the IBF championship, stripped from Usyk, who knocked him out and made him quit. And Parker is a former world champion, So, and then Joe Joyce is now, I mean, that's how quickly boxing turns around, especially in the heavyweight division. The blue ribbon division, as Adam Smith would say, the blue ribbon division. That's how quickly things can change. And not for the better. Not for the better for Joe Joyce. I'd like to see him retire. Has enough money. He's bought a house. He comes from a good family. He has a good relationship with his family. He's got interests outside of boxing. He'd probably sit there, week after week playing games and enjoying it. I know people have met him and they go, he's a fun guy. He's a nice guy. He's a fun guy, not a mushroom, a fun guy. I hate that joke. It's whack. But he's 39 now, and the jugger bum, unfortunately, now has to be declared a bum. He's reached that 3 out of 4 losses, and the Catch Ali fight was extremely unimpressive. Ali won some rounds. I mean, Ali's not that bad, but he's still fat. He's not anywhere near world level. And more than that, Joe Joyce outweighed him by 50 pounds almost. Imagine that, 50 pounds. It's crazy, man. That's almost as much as Sonny Edwards weighs. Well, not quite, but you know what I'm saying. Double it, and it's almost Sonny Edwards. So, I don't know. It's hard to tell because they're both on, the way to being shot. I mean, Whyte is less shot. He beat Ebenezer Tete. Ebenezer, gave him a decent fight, and he was trying, but he eventually won it. Christian Hammer has been beaten up by everyone. He got stopped in 3 by Dillian, but he's shot and old anyway. Christian Hammer, who cares about him? Jermaine Franklin, I mean, I actually thought Franklin won that fight. And Franklin's, he's not a bad fighter. He's never going to, he's actually got a decent KO record, and his 2 losses have both been on points to Gage J and to Whyte. The Whyte one was contestable, if that's a word. I actually thought Franklin won that, but still it was close. Franklin's another fringe world contender. Whereas with Joe Joyce, when was the last time he beat anyone who's half decent? Yeah, KO and Joseph Parker, 2022. So almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Yeah. And since then he's been zhanged. And when you get zhanged, do you ever recover? Do you ever recover? That's the question. I'd say probably not. So my heart would like Joe Joyce to win, but then again, does that means he would carry on fighting and take yet more punches to his huge head, which is no good. There's a possibility it will go to distance. It is 12 rounds, and it's a brain damage fight. 2 old guys that really should have retired by now. Yeah, both of them have got half decent chins. Yeah. Both of them have got, Joyce is a decent puncher. Dillian Whyte's a decent puncher. Neither of them are hard to hit. Joe Joyce is almost impossible to miss, actually. So, I mean, I don't like this fight. It'd be like watching a car crash. And like as I said, whilst I like Joe and I like him to win, that just means you'll go on to fight, again, and he might fight Chisora again. I don't know. Has he fought Chisora? Sorry, yeah, of course he does. He lost a unanimous decision. I don't think Chisora actually won that fight. It's not big enough, so I don't know who he'd fight after that. He still needs we need a couple more wins, or at least one more win against a better opponent than Whyte to be right back in the mix. But I want him to retire. It's that simple. The Jugger Bum is done. The Jugger Bum run is done, and that's all we got to say. Like I said, if I had to bet my life on it, given his form, I lean towards Dillian Whyte. A Joe Joyce win is not impossible by any means, of course. Yeah, but it's almost like, Joe Joyce's punches also seems to have left him. It took him 10 rounds to KO Ali, and that was like 7 seconds before the end, and he couldn't hurt Chisora. He's been KO'd a few times himself, like 4 times. So he'll wipe Corte out probably. It might even be unimpressive, but I don't expect Corte's chin to be able to take that many shots, and I think he'll be done before the 4th round, and then it's Whyte. So yeah, it's a slightly tragic fight, but people will line up to watch it, and yeah, I give the edge to Dillian. Yeah. Anyway, peace in the Middle East.